Hey, it's Cody. I'm on day 106 of the Odin project. Before we get started, if you are new to the channel, my wife and I are completing the Odin project, an open source curriculum to learn web development. And we're documenting our progress here on a couple codes. If that sounds interesting to you, then definitely hit subscribe. All right, back to my vlog. So for today and the past couple of days, I've been working on cleaning up my view lexicon table. So it's just mainly some aesthetic things, but the feature that I worked on today was an editing feature for attributes. So a user can select an attribute and then make edits to it. It's not completely functional yet. I mainly just have the layout done. But yeah, let's take a look at what that looks like. So if we go over here, we have our view lexicon component coming into our dashboard. So that's this big gray box right here. You see the lexicon data is being loaded. An attributes table is appearing. And then we have these expanded rows for more data about attributes and their references. New that we have here is this checkbox. If we click on this checkbox, this edit button appears. And then if we click on this edit button, then this window pops up from the right hand side of the screen, allowing the user to then see the attributes data and providing some inputs to allow them to actually edit it. Also, if you click outside of this, it'll close the screen. If you go back here and click this, it'll close the screen. And unfortunately, there's also a bug. If you click an input, then it'll also close the screen. Something I gotta fix, but that's just something else to work on. So no biggie there, but yeah, let's just look at the code to see how I made this work. So I have a state over here, attribute selected, that is initially set to false because no attribute will be selected upon the table being rendered. And then I have a function here that is going to be a callback function that allows for the attribute selected state to be updated within the lexicon table component. So this change attribute selected is going to be a callback function. We're going to use that down here within our lexicon table. If we go to the lexicon table, we will see that it's utilized within this handle row click. So on the handle row click, when a user clicks this row, data is going to be passed as an argument. This if statement is going to check if there is a selected count equal to only 1, and then it's going to change the attribute selected by providing that specific attribute's ID to this change attribute selected function. That'll update the state. For everything else that isn't selected, so if it's not selected, then it's just going to change the attribute selected false. So that'll be relevant for going back here and going up to this specific line of code. So this is our attribute selected state. I'm putting it into an array so I can map over it to return some JSX within this return call that I already have. So if the attribute ID is false, then we're going to actually return an empty string down here. If it's not equal to false, then we're going to return what we see here, this selected attribute text and this edit button. The edit button is going to have this toggle edit attribute window button, I meant function. And if we go up here, we'll see what that is and what state it's using. So editing attribute is a state that's set initially to false. If there's no selected attribute upon the initial rendering of the page, then there can't be an editing attribute state. So we set it to false. This toggle edit attribute window is going to check if that editing attribute is true or false. And if it's true, then it's going to set it false. If it is false, then it's going to set it true. So that's why it's called toggle. So go toggle back and forth. And that toggle edit attribute window will actually be utilized in two places down here. One is on this edit feature, this edit button down here, and opens up the window, but it's also going to be used within the edit attribute window. So we see over here, I click on this close button, then it's going to close the window. It's toggling that state, that edit attribute state. Go back here. It's also going to do it if I click on any space on here, and that's the bug that I got to work on. But I really only want it to be on this transparent space and on this button right here. But yeah, just more stuff to work on. In regards to this edit attribute window, we have three props that we're setting it: editing attribute, the toggle edit attribute window, which is that function, and then the attribute itself. We go into the edit attribute window, we will see that the toggle edit attribute window function is going to be utilized within a handle window exit. Handle window exit is currently set to this entire div that's on the screen right now, including the white space and this grayed out space, and then also this close button up here. The attribute is actually going to be utilized for getting the attribute specific values to put into the inputs as initial values for the user to modify. So we see that with the name here, definition, modality, evaluation. So those are all coming from this attribute property. And if we go back up to view lexicon, we get that attribute from the lexicon state that has a get specific attribute by ID method, and utilizing that attribute selected state, which is going to be an ID if it is an actually selected attribute, and pass that through to this for actually rendering this data. But yeah, that's all I got to work on. Still got some stuff to work on to make this a functional feature. But other than that, I'll see you on Friday with mine and Emily's weekly update. See you.